Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. Hope you had a nice week and you're ready for a crazy weekend. Hopefully it's not too crazy, because Donald Trump certainly does crazy things at the weekend, starting wars and bombing countries. So let's hope he doesn't escalate that even more. So we're going to talk a bit about that, of course, tonight. What's happening in Gorton and Denton? Do you remember Gorton and Denton, where Reform were supposed to win? Matt Goodwin, or Matt Bad Lose, came second, although he tried to claim it was some sort of victory, and a few other stories I want to cover tonight as well. So let's start off with this one here. Let me load it up here for you. This on the Gorton and Denton by-election. So there's some more information from Sky News.
Oh, Alex, tell us a little bit more about the allegations that there have been about family voting in this by-election.
Yeah, so this relates to the Gorton and Denton by-election last month, which saw Reform UK come second behind the Greens. Reform did claim that there had been sectarian voting and cheating in this by-election, and they reported that to the Greater Manchester Police and the Electoral Commission. Now, family voting is an illegal practice where two voters enter a polling booth and potentially direct each other on how to vote. And Reform filed this report after the election observer group Democracy Volunteers warned it had witnessed concerningly high levels of the practice.
Okay, but it's important to remember that that organization, the Electoral Democracy or whatever organization, that organization did not report it to the police at the time, and they didn't report it to the Greater Manchester authorities at the time either. Instead, they went to the media. Like, okay, if you see a crime being committed, is your normal reaction to call the police, to intervene, or is it to go to the media after the crime has been committed? So it was all very fishy, and of course Reform UK jumped on that and then went to the police about it without any evidence, it seems, because they had no evidence. And I can guarantee they had no evidence, because if they did, they would have put it on GB News. They would have filmed people. If somebody was doing it, they would have filmed them, or they would have been picked up by a camera or something, or some sort of interview would have taken place about somebody working there, and they would have reported it to GB News. But none of that happened. It was all hearsay. And of course, the police were involved, and Reform UK failed in their attempt to undermine democracy once again. I think they should be punished for wasting police time here, because they had no evidence to back up this claim, and the police rejected it. Caroline, thank you so much. That's very kind of you.
At the by-election. But in its statement released just today, the Greater Manchester Police said it had spoken to 4 of these volunteers who had told them that they saw some instances of more than one voter going into a booth at the same time, and instances of people looking over the shoulder of voters, and that this may have happened on 32 occasions across 15 polling stations. But crucially, summing up why they had found no evidence behind the claims, the GMP said the observers do not allege any verbal instruction or physical conduct that indicated one person was directing or coercing another regarding how to vote. This is
Okay, but so they didn't do anything. Like, somebody went with another to the polling booth, but they didn't instruct somebody on how to vote. So no crime was committed.
Crucial part of the legislation to prove such an offence was committed. And in addition to the statement from the Greater Manchester Police, the Electoral Commission has also commented, and they've said public trust in elections is essential. We take allegations of fraud or about how polls are conducted very seriously, and we are grateful that Greater Manchester Police have properly investigated to establish the facts. Now, Nigel Farage hasn't yet commented on this, but given the strength of feeling behind his claims, he may well do so, even though they have been very...
Of course, he's going to make a statement probably on GB News, where he's not going to be challenged by anyone, and he's going to say, "Oh, look, we lost this one, but no doubt there were real cases taking place, and no doubt this will happen again in the future, and it's happened in the past, even though we don't have any evidence." It should be a fine if you don't vote. Yeah, in some countries, Switzerland, for example, voting is mandatory. You need permission not to vote. Would be great for turnout numbers. It would actually be better for democracy if more people voted, because it tends to be older people that vote. Nothing against older people, but older people tend to vote, and older people vote for issues that affect older people more than younger people. And young people don't tend to vote because the politicians don't listen to them, and politicians don't listen to them because they don't vote. Matt Goodwin has all the charm of unexploded bomb that might have something to do with it. I like that analogy, yes. Same with Australia. In Australia, voting is mandatory as well. I understand the sort of freedom of expression point, but if it doesn't mean that you have to vote for a candidate. You can spoil your vote. You can write your name on the ballot. You can do some squiggles on the ballot. It's not necessary for you to actually vote for a candidate, but you're supposed to participate in the democratic process, which is important because people died for us to have the ability to vote. 2 people shouldn't be allowed into a voting. No, and if there are cases of family voting, it should be dealt with swiftly by the police. Anyone who's involved in family voting should be arrested. There's no ifs nor buts about it, because that too undermines democracy. Family voting undermines democracy, and false allegations of family voting also undermine democracy. But we know that Reform UK don't really care about democracy. There's no democracy within Reform UK, for example. You can't vote Nigel Farage out as leader. It's a dictatorship. And of course, when it comes to a second referendum on rejoining the European Union, Nigel Farage is against that as well. They keep saying we need more democracy. Okay, but how about a bit of democracy for allowing people who maybe changed their mind or were not able to vote back in 2016 who would like another chance? Shouldn't they have a bit of democracy? No, they're being denied democracy. In some parts of Northern Ireland, the Shinners would call to your door if you hadn't voted and insist that you go to the polling station or one of their or in one of their black taxis. I hope that doesn't go on anymore. Did wonders for turnout, but hopefully it doesn't happen anymore because that's obviously illegal as well. That is the problem here. My grandpa voted red. My pa voted red, so I vote red. I presume that's in the United States, yes. Yeah, if you vote Republican, you're expected to vote Republican as well because, well, everyone else voted Republican in the United States or voted Tory or voted the Labour Party. It doesn't matter what party it is. I always encourage people to vote based on the policies because it's the policies that will impact your life, not the personalities so much. But unfortunately, in the case with Donald Trump, it's the personality because the policies mean nothing. There are no policies. It's just you vote for Donald Trump and Donald Trump does whatever the heck he wants. So there is no evidence. No, there's no evidence of family voting. Nigel Farage wasted police time. Those police officers, I could be very malicious here and say those police officers could have been out catching criminals, but they weren't able to do that because they were wasting time investigating family voting that didn't take place. But that's not how the police actually operate. A right-wing think tank pretending to be a watchdog just said that there was. And I'm not surprised by that. Vote revisionist buffering. No, don't tell me it's buffering again. Wasting police time can incur a fine. I don't know about a fine. I don't know if there's any real punishment for wasting police time. I guess it depends also how much time was wasted. If it's a murder investigation. There was actually a very funny, not really funny, but there was an interesting case I saw on a documentary on YouTube where in Germany back in the 1990s, they discovered a woman who had carried out hundreds of crimes. They had found her DNA on bullet casings. They found her DNA on cases of burglaries. There were a number of murder cases linked to her, and they could never find this woman. And they drafted more police officers in to try and investigate, to go through they found her DNA evidence everywhere. And they also even found her DNA evidence in France. And it turned out that the lab that had created the DNA kit had contaminated the instruments for the DNA kit. And these DNA kits were sent out to police stations in Germany and in France. And whenever they were doing an investigation that required DNA evidence, the materials they were using were contaminating the crime scene, and it was all linked back to one individual, which they could never find because she was never in any crime database. All right, that's a side story. No, it's quite serious crime if it's considered willful obstruction of an investigation or police work. You can even go to prison for it. I don't think Nigel Farage is going to go to prison for this, though. But he should. Anyway, it goes on to say here, the Electoral Commission says that it will talk to volunteers who reported voting concerns. The Electoral Commission has said that it will speak to democracy volunteers about their observers group definitions and the observer group's definitions and training following the outcome of the police investigation into alleged family voting in the Gorton and Denton by-election. As we've been reporting, Greater Manchester Police, GMP, says it has found no evidence to corroborate the claims, corroborate. I know I'm mispronouncing that for some reason. The claims about last month's poll. So it's, once again, a storm in a teacup, but it's a case of Reform UK trying to poison the well, trying to muddy the waters, trying to create a situation that is not a situation, and of course trying to undermine democracy so that the next time they lose, they will say, oh, it's not our fault, it's because of family voting, or it's not our fault because there was something going on that was not following the rules. So what's interesting also is that Matt Goodwin is back in London, in GB News once again, but it seems that he has created a bit of a problem for himself within Reform UK, and it seems that Nigel Farage is not too happy about that. So this is some reporting that's been going on about possible problems within Reform UK. Anyway, guys, let's move on to our next story, which of course is the war in Iran, which hopefully doesn't explode again this weekend. I want to show you this report from Sky News about a miscalculation, if you can call it that.
There's been a miscalculation, without question. If you talk to anybody who has a sober analysis of this war, they will tell you, including military people who don't want to be quoted, that there was an overestimation by the White House and Central Command as to how quickly Iran was...
I just want to read a Freckled Bunny's comment. Farage in prison, perhaps getting a massive poll he doesn't like for a change. Oh my goodness.
There was an overestimation by the White House and Central Command as to how quickly Iran was going to crumble. They thought that with this shock and awe of this overwhelming military superiority that the US and Israel undoubtedly have over Iran, that the regime would collapse or capitulate. And it's done neither. And every day that it survives, despite losing so many key people, despite losing so much weaponry, despite so many hits, it's still standing, and that's making it very defiant. And if you talk to anybody, any military commander, they will say, look, it's not about how many sites you hit, how many missiles you destroy, how many commanders you assassinate. It's about the net effect that you achieve. And Gulf Arab states, and I'm speaking to you here from Qatar, Gulf Arab states, they look at where we were a month ago. Their ships carrying their oil and gas were able to pass freely through the Strait of Hormuz without being threatened by Iran. There were no drones and missiles flying across the Gulf at them, and life was sweet. Somehow, it's all gone very wrong.
It's gone very, 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 very wrong. And it doesn't look like there's any chance of it going any way right anytime soon. Because once again, if Donald Trump walks away from the situation in the Middle East, it doesn't mean that the situation in the Middle East goes away. Iran will still be able to launch missiles and drones at Arab nations. And remember, the whole point of these military bases, the US military bases in the Middle East, was to protect these nations from a potential attack from Iran. So that protection is completely gone. The whole point was you will never be attacked because the United States is there, and if attack ever came, well, the United States would be able to neutralize it straight away. Well, that hasn't worked out. Donald Trump has thrown all of these Arab nations under a bus, where some of them are actually considering reaching out to Iran, okay, to stop these attacks. Some are considering paying Iran money so ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. What Donald Trump has done in a few weeks, I should say, has undone an order that has lasted decades. Only Donald Trump could take something that has been built up over many years and decades and destroy it in a week or 2 weeks. But it gets worse. So could it get any worse? Yes, it can get worse. So in Iran, you have a regime which is deeply religious, if you can call it that. And then on the other side, you have the Trump administration and the US armed forces. Well, some people within it believe they're fighting a holy war. Have a listen to this.
Is the United States waging a holy war in Iran?
This is a battle of good versus evil.
God is just exposing everything. I believe we are living in the end times.
Those are the views of...
These people are insane. So Trump is doing God's work. God wants this war. Why does God never just come down and say, hey guys, look, let's stop fighting. Okay, please. Can God do this? Can he come down and say, look, hey, you were saying these things about me. That's not true. You were saying these things about me. That's not true. Let's just stop this. Let's live in peace together. But no, it doesn't happen. Unfortunately, we're not allowed that privilege. But as we're going to see in this clip, there are people within the US military or people who are close to the US military who honestly believe this war needs to take place. And I've mentioned this before on the stream, in order to bring back Jesus Christ. Because they believe that if this war takes place, there will be absolute chaos, and then Jesus will return for a second coming.
Some conservative Christians here in Oklahoma, one of America's reddest states. That message is being amplified at the highest level by Donald Trump's defense secretary.
God bless our troops and this mission.
It's causing alarm among those who worry about the growing influence of Christian nationalism on US policy.
I don't think the lines have been blurred. I think they've been stomped on.
People are being told that they need to go risk their lives in order to accelerate Armageddon.
Conservative Christians have access to this White House.
I never understood this thing as well. People putting their arms around, like their hands out like, what the fuck does that... Sorry for my language. What's that about? Honestly, I was raised Catholic and we didn't, we had people dressed in strange costumes on a Sunday, but that was about it. But what's all this sort of thing about putting your hands... Like they frown upon paganism, but this is closer to pagan practices than it is to Christian ones.
Like never before, a president who regularly hosts evangelical leaders and a defense secretary who embraces a combative brand.
Like Donald Trump is the most immoral person on the planet. And the Christian's like, he's chosen by God. God.
Christianity.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Pete Hegseth is now invoking divine purpose to justify American military might in Iran.
Dear gracious God, I need you.
A conflict which some view as...
Why the fuck doesn't God do the battle then? Why doesn't God come down and fight the war? Why would he be sending people who have nothing to do with it into harm's way? This is what I hate about these theocracies, these religious freaks, is they'll always say, well, God tells us to send our young men and women into places of conflict. I'm not going, of course. God didn't tell me to go. No, I'll stay way back, miles and miles away from the front line, and I'll send somebody else in. What absolute fucking hypocrites these people are.
The Holy War, is it spotlighting increasingly blurred lines between church and state?
Give me wisdom, I pray.
Pastor Jackson Lohmeyer!
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, the man who founded the organisation Pastors for Trump is announcing his run for public office.
Do these people not realise it's all a massive scam? It's a grift. It's about making huge amounts of money from poor people. People giving away their life savings to some fucking pastor so he can have another Learjet. This is what it's all about. Are these people this brain dead? Can they not think, wait a minute, why is this very rich man asking me for money so that I can get into heaven? we sort of done away with those things in the Middle Ages.
From the pulpit where he preaches.
That Sharia law never takes root in this nation ever.
No, because we want our own type of Sharia law. It's so ironic that they're criticizing the Muslims as being these extremists wanting to go to war at the drop of a hat. Their religious fundamentalism shoving their beliefs down people's throats. Now let's all get in a circle and we'll pray for Donald Trump to continue the war, and we'll continue to condemn gay and trans people.
Jackson Lohmeyer supports the war and has spoken about his hope that the gospel will penetrate a free Iran. It's a message which resonates with his congregation.
I do believe it is almost an Armageddon, and that the fact that we do have to stand up for what's right and what we believe in, and they are some awful people over there.
How do you square off the loss of innocent lives?
It's perfectly fine. As someone whose dad serves in the military, I can tell you that it's just a cost. And unfortunately, it's the sad reality, but they did the right thing. They stood up and they fought for their country, and we can honor that. And I know that they're sitting with the good Lord right now and in his great graces.
You should support Israel because God loves Israel. Israel is the apple.
God loves Israel. When did he say that? Can we ask God now? Do you love Israel? Don't hear anything. Okay. What the fuck is wrong with these people? God saves, everyone else must pay. Thanks, Kirsty. Thanks for that. I honestly don't understand these people. Jesus, he knows by Genesis. He knows by Genesis. Was it like Phil Collins? Is that what you're talking about? Thanks, Jimmy.
Of his eye, and that is in the Bible.
Is it a religious war?
Most definitely.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes.
God is just like exposing everything, using Trump, using other people in this time to expose the evil.
You believe Donald Trump is a conduit for God?
100% we do.
First time. 100% we don't have a functioning brain.
That Eric was here at the church. This is me and the president years ago.
In his office, Pastor Lohmeyer displays pictures with various...
I'm sorry, guys. When the Trump administration eventually falls, it will fall at some stage, these people there needs to be a sort of demagification, like after World War II, when the Nazis were removed from power, there needed to be a denazification in Germany. There needs to be something similar in the United States. These people should not be having any more power. These people had their time, and this is what they did. These people should have, and it needs to be at every level, not just politics, in the media as well, in society. There needs to be a demagification. These people should be persona non grata when it comes to any levers of power. I'm not just talking about the Republican Party. I'm talking about anyone who went along with Trump. They need to be removed from any position of power whatsoever, be it in politics or in the media. God said, fuck those guys, I'm going home. Thanks, Reagan Elite, yes. It's like watching some sort of weird carnival but then you realize that the carnival has power. It's like a circus. It's like Pennywise. That's what it's like. Pennywise the clown, the dancing clown. You realize he's a bit silly, he looks a bit strange, but then you realize he's a freaking serial killer.
Members of the Trump family who have appeared at the church. Do you see this war in religious terms?
Well, obviously, to the Ayatollah, it was definitely religious terms. It's jihad. It is to bring about the apocalypse, to usher in their Messiah.
You've spoken about the gospel penetrating a free Iran. What does that mean?
Well, that's not the job of the United States government. That's the job of pastors and preachers and evangelists.
So you want to deliver Jesus to Iran. Wonderful. And if the people say no?
When that door opens. And so a free Iran would open the door for ministries and preachers to go in.
We need more people to pay us money. We need more people to buy us our expensive houses and aircraft and cars. That's what we want. We see a market there. We have a lot of poor people there who are ignorant, and we're going to be able to sell them Jesus.
Share the gospel.
At a different church on the other side of Tulsa, an opposing viewpoint.
Come on in.
Reverend Andy Campbell believes the Trump administration is weaponizing Christianity to sell this war to the public.
If I go to war and I claim that God is on my side, if you oppose me, then evidently I must be godless. And I think that's the point of it.
So do you think Pete Hegseth is playing on that then?
Oh, absolutely. He wants to take people that he perceives as enemies and make them less than human.
They smoked me all the way.
Defence Secretary Hegseth is provoking controversy with his rhetoric and his tattoos. He has a large Jerusalem cross which dates back to the Christian Crusades, and a Deus Vult tattoo, Latin for God wills it, often used by far-right groups.
One of God's mightiest men, our Secretary of War, the Honourable Pete Hegseth.
Hegseth has pushed policy changes that reflect his personal views. This is a new Christian worship service for employees at the Pentagon.
You are here.
The cringe is off the scale, yeah. You know, we in Europe and the UK, we can't understand this. Like we look at this and this is absurd. Nobody actually believes this. Does anyone actually buy into this? Yes, a lot of people buy into this, unfortunately.
Working in this place.
And some are alleging an increase in Christian extremism in the armed forces. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it's received more than 200 complaints from members of the military about commanders invoking biblical rhetoric to justify involvement in the war in Iran. Some of the more egregious examples here, this one from an active duty military member who alleges that their commander urged them to tell our troops that the war, is all part of God's divine plan. Apparently they referenced citations out of the book of Revelation and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Another military member says this poster of Jesus firing a mortar round was
Jesus firing a mortar round. I'm not a Christian. I used to be Catholic, but I'm no longer a Christian. But like, I would have been upset with that. I would have been offended by that. Jesus firing a mortar round. Jesus, you know, the deliverer of death. It's blasphemy, yes. Now, are you going to see people on the right in the UK or in Europe complaining about this? Of course not. They would cheer it on. This type of blasphemy they have no problem whatsoever with.
Displayed in their battalion headquarters. This congressman is calling for the allegations to be investigated by the Department of Defense.
These biblical prophecies are being offered up to justify the war. People are being told that they need to go risk their lives in order to accelerate Armageddon and live out these extreme interpretations of Scripture. The Secretary of Defense is making a concerted effort to God wash this terrible war.
Glad you guys were here tonight.
Yes, thank you.
You all be blessed.
As this pastor begins his campaign for Congress, he insists there is a place for Christianity in politics. But some believe the war...
No, keep religion out of politics. That's part of the problem here. And of course, within the United States and other countries. And once again, the reason I show you this type of crap is because the likes of Nigel Farage want to copy and paste it into the UK. Not because he actually believes it, but because he knows other people do. And others are willing to spend money, give money, donate their life savings to individuals who say, hey, you give me your money and I'm going to deliver you to Jesus. Okay. And these people are willing to do whatever they're told by their pastor, by these preachers. These preachers would say, go out and vote for the Republican Party. And these people would do it. They wouldn't ask about policies. They wouldn't ask about the individual. They would do exactly as they're told. So can you imagine the power these people have? Jesus is a Republican. Imagine the power these people have. Imagine you're able to tell. You don't even need to campaign. You just go to this guy and you say, here's a load of money. Tell your congregation to vote for me. And they're generally older people. They will come out and vote for you. They won't even ask any questions. What does this person believe? What are the policies they're running out? No, nothing. The pastor told me to do it. Imagine that power, that amount of power you have. All you need to do as a pastor, you don't even need a skill. You don't need you don't need to be qualified or anything. All you need to do is be a good speaker, and you need to continue to repeat the same rhetoric all the time, every Sunday. People come in, tell them that they're wonderful, tell them that they're sinners, first of all, and they need to purify their hearts. You know, I think I could be a good preacher if I had the right training. I wouldn't do it because I find these people not even absurd. I find them disgraceful. And what's funny is I imagine a lot of them are actually atheists. They don't actually believe it. Because the more you understand about it, the more disgusted you'd be, and you'd actually have to be. You couldn't be a believer in Jesus and do these types of things. So I don't believe I believe most of these people are just grifters. They're atheists or some other religion, and they don't actually believe it, but they know what buttons to press and they know what to say in order to convince people to believe that. They're really good at doing their job. They're charlatans. They're experts. Anyway, guys, let's move on to our... we have a super chat from Kirsty again. Thanks so much, Kirsty. Imagine the praise old Chuck Norris is going to get when he returns. Jesus. Chuck Norris. May the Lord have mercy on his soul. Although he was a bit of a Republican, wasn't he? He was a bit of a Trump fan, I think. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. Maybe I thought he was a Trump fan. Anyway, going from one bunch of idiocy, I wanted to show you this. So a guy called Tom Skinner, who you may or may not know. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. He appeared on Question Time. Actually, before we see this, I want to ask a question. I'm stuck on Christianity. When did Question Time fall apart? When did it die? When did it completely abandon any sort of sanity? There was a time when people would appear on Question Time who were experts, military experts or medical experts or philosophers even. And now you have this guy.
We all know that the cost of living is a joke at the minute. Like, people are struggling. Like, people should be able to, end of the week, enjoy a pint of beer, take their kids to the football, but they can't. Their pennies ain't going as far. And look, every Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, me and my friend Rob do a men's mental health walk. We've done it every single Sunday. Anyone can come.
Brilliant.
Anyone's welcome.
It's brilliant.
And one of the biggest things I talk about with blokes my age is I ain't got no money, Tom. And that's literally, and I'm working every hour that God gives me. Like, this morning, I started work at 3 o'clock. And when I was in New Spitalfield, I noticed that people are buying their stock because people ain't buying the fruit and veg. Like, I went and bought fish in Billingsgate afterwards. How's it been? It's going smaller and smaller. Why is that? Well, because Labour have been smacking small businesses left, right and centre, and it ain't fair. Like, people forget small businesses are backbone of the UK economy, you know what I mean? And without small businesses, we ain't got a country. Their tax pays for the roads, like the potholes we were talking about earlier, like the NHS. Like, everything goes on through small businesses. And I think we need to give them more support, and then you'll see more jobs opening up. You'll see more people, because when companies are making more money, they can employ and they can fund people better.
And do you think any of the...
No, it doesn't work like that. You're supposed to be a businessman, although wasn't he fined or arrested for fraud some years ago? Like he was handling stolen goods or something like that. I don't remember. Once again, they used to have experts on, and now they seem to be interested more in fraudsters. But when businesses make money, they don't hire more people. Generally, they hire more people if the business is expanding. They don't hire more people if they're making more profit. Because if they make more profit, they give it to the shareholders or they keep it for themselves. Does he actually not understand how businesses operate? A business hires the people it needs. That's it. If it needs more people, it will hire them, or it'll try and hire them. Brexit didn't help there. But generally, if you believe that your business can expand, then you will hire more people. And we're going to see that up and down. It goes up and down all the time. But it's not that if businesses have more money, they'll hire more people. No, if profits are up, in some cases, they'll cut staff because, hey, we don't need all these people. We can actually maximize profit by letting people go.
Parties have the answer to that?
Mate, listen, I don't think they do at the moment. Like people, I mean, Nigel Farage come out and said he'll back small businesses, and he did say that, and I appreciate he said that, yeah. But
Nigel Farage said he'll come out and back small businesses. What? How? What is Nigel Farage going to do for small businesses? Honestly, I'd love to know, because this guy has now signed up to Reform UK. So he's suggesting that I've joined Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Why? Well, because Nigel Farage cares about small businesses. What is he going to do for small businesses? I don't know. It's like, okay, that's it. Like, there's no obligation on you to join a political party. You could say, look, I'm considering voting for Reform because I like some of their policies. Okay, it's not a good idea, but why would you join a political party if you don't know what they actually stand for? It's not like just voting for them on the odd occasion. He actually joined Reform UK. He makes Pimlico plonker sound sensible. Yes. This guy is literally a moron. Where's Charlie? Charlie, one of you guys said the other day it was Rod Stewart had a meltdown or something like that. It's Colin, love to the family. Yeah, it was £40,000 in stolen goods. Thomas Skinner revealed that he was paid £2,000 to appear on BBC Question Time last night. He was paid £2,000. This is the problem. Why the heck was he on Question Time? What does he bring to the table? Now, they say that they only pay £150, so I don't know if that's true or not. But I don't think he would have turned up for 150 quid. Unless he was sent by Reform UK. Look, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if that's true. I've no way of verifying it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was paid a huge amount of money to turn up on. Because they've abandoned the idea of let's bring people on who actually know what they're talking about. Let's just bring on people who are good for clicks and likes. People have heard about this guy, stick him on, get him to talk about, I don't know, the cost of living, although he doesn't understand it. Let's get him to talk about the war in Iran, even though he doesn't understand it. People will have a laugh and it'll be good for ratings. I think that's what Question Time is all about. It's sunk that far. Anyway, guys, let's move on to our next topic, which is out-of-touch landlords, which is always good.
What do you think the government could do to...
Okay, so Joe Politics visited, I don't know where this is actually, and they asked, one of the reporters asked, Laura, who's a very good reporter, asked a bunch of landlords how to deal with the cost of living crisis, or the housing crisis, sorry. If it loads.
Help with the housing crisis?
Stop the boats. To fix it, I would say a little bit more support for the landlord, I would say, especially the taxation side.
There's this stigma that landlords are trying to rip people off.
There's a misconception about the landlord. People think if you're a landlord, you're very rich, but it's not like that. It's like a normal people like me. I'm doing day-to-day job.
I was very lucky. I bought my first house when I was 18, and then...
I bought my first house when I was 18. 18. Now, she doesn't look like she's in her 60s or anything, so we're talking about maybe 20 years ago. 18.
From there, I was in a very successful IT sales job, and I just invested and invested. I met my husband, and he had property. From there...
And there we go. Okay, so it wasn't about you saving and putting money aside. It was because your husband was in property. Okay.
We changed our standard 3-4 bedrooms into professional HMOs.
How did you get on the property ladder?
I was very lucky. By means, I had family help through inheritance. I think it's...
And that's the way to do it. That's how you get on the property ladder. You have support from family. Like either you're born into wealth or you get support from family. That's the only way. And that's not how it should be. There was a time when people could buy a house, working a normal job. That's completely gone now. What I find interesting is Reform and the Conservatives would say, well, the problem is immigrants. There are too many immigrants coming in. But, for example, in Japan has very low immigration and it has a very similar housing crisis. So how is it down to immigration?
One of the best ways to be able to get on the property ladder at the moment. I don't think people's salaries have increased the same way the property market has, which is making it quite difficult for people to get on.
We just started buying properties locally. I think we took a mortgage out because we didn't have one on our house, we were buying properties sometimes then at £2,000 each.
Wow.
And
£2,000. Okay, well, of course that has to be adjusted for inflation, but we're still talking about a very low price, £2,000. Like, I don't know what wages were like when he was talking about this, but once again, this doesn't look like somebody who's 100 years old. We're talking about maybe 40 years ago, maybe £2,000 for a house.
And getting £2,000 grant for doing them up, so that's how far it goes back. Makes it sound ancient, doesn't it?
So you buy a house for £2,000 and then you'd be given an extra £2,000 to fix it up. And now the advice to young people is, hey, cut back on the avocado toast and the Netflix.
How big is your portfolio now?
45 properties.
So
45 properties. They keep saying, well, the problem is all these immigrants coming in, taking up all the housing. This guy has 45 properties. Now, you notice he says properties, not 45 houses. Properties. So some of these properties could be multiple occupancy. Money makes money, exactly. Like 45 properties. Once again, this needs to be shown to people who keep talking about, oh, the immigrants are taking up all the houses. This guy owns 45 properties. Does he need to live in 45 properties? No. So it's not the immigrants that are taking up all the housing. It's people like this guy. There's also an MP in the House of Commons who has 40 properties or 45 properties. An MP. Like, this guy is a private individual. But an MP who was elected at the last election, who has over 40 properties.
45 properties.
So I got my first property when I was 20, but the biggest mistake that I have made when I was buying the property, I was so excited to get a property ladder, right? But then a few years down the road, when I spoke to other landlords, then I realized buying a property under your name is not a good idea. It's better to buy under a limited company. So in terms of taxation wise, you can actually save quite a good amount of money. In terms of, for example, if you're buying a property under your name, and if you buy to let, and if you are paying some kind of mortgage, you can't claim as an expense. But
this is something I've said before. If you're rich, you can avoid a lot of costs that poor people can't avoid. For example, if you can afford a very expensive accountant who can find you loopholes and tricks of the trade to get out of paying taxes. And this is not tax evasion. This is tax avoidance. Just you're doing something that's legal. But in order to do this, you need to have money. So rich people, it's not that everyone is paying the same. Rich people are paying less even though they have more. The system is completely fucked up.
In terms, if you buy the same property under a limited company, you can actually claim those mortgage expenses as an expense of the company, so you can actually keep more money for yourself than expending towards the taxation.
20 is really young to get on the housing ladder. How did you manage that?
So it comes from a...
Well said, Hots Poppin. It's cheaper to buy yearly car insurance than monthly car insurance. Yes. Like poor people can't afford to pay the insurance for the whole year, so they pay it monthly. But because you pay it monthly, you pay more. There's no reason for that. It's just they would prefer to lock you in for a year so that they can take advantage of the situation. So they give you a bit of a discount. But only richer people can afford the discount. The system is completely messed up.
My family background, so my dad always been on a property market, so he's been a landlord, and I've been always in that environment since I was a little kid.
What do you think is the biggest challenge facing landlords right now?
To be honest, I'm a bit unique. I have got no issues at all. So I have a way with people. I will not let any of my tenants go without hot water for 12 hours. I know a lot of people in high-low places, and there is a lot of untoward landlords out there that are trying their, it's really unfair, and I'm glad renters' rights have come out, because something like this is getting rid of the, I don't know what you want to call them, yeah.
But good landlords shouldn't be worried about the renters' rights.
Absolutely not. And I'm really concerned, actually, because I know a lot of landlords, and loads of them are selling up. And I'm like, why are you selling up? And they're like, oh, and they can't really answer that.
I mean, you've got to consider that 90% of landlords only own one property, which they inherited or whatever. And that's dwindling drastically because of the law changes with the right to rent and whatever else is coming in, plus the tax.
So biggest challenge, the new regulations that coming in, the checks that are coming in, a lot of landlords we've seen like they're leaving the property market because it's not as profitable what used to be 10 years ago. So we have seen a trend, especially the government is, especially the tenant law that coming in. You can't evict any tenants, and also you can't increase the rent as well. I haven't seen the new law yet, but a lot of people are a little bit shaky around that new law that's coming in.
Why do you think that rent increase law is making landlords nervous? Because tenants might think this is great. Like, I've had some above inflation rent increases.
So a lot of people think there's a misconception about the landlord. People think if you're a landlord, you're very rich. But it's not like that. It's like a normal people like me. I'm doing day-to-day job, savings.
Okay. There was a guy before who had 45 properties. We don't create laws for individuals, we create laws for everyone. So it doesn't matter if somebody's a good landlord or a bad landlord. You have to have regulations in there to protect the tenants, because they're at the mercy of these landlords. You can have a good relationship. You can have a situation where people are able to access affordable housing, and the affordable housing is, people can live off that if necessary. I'm a huge supporter of more affordable, more council houses. Councils should be building these houses for people. There'll always be people who want to rent, business people or people who, are moving from city to city and don't want to stay in a hotel or whatever, short-term renting. There'll always be that. But for most families, there should be council housing made available. And of course, a lot of that disappeared under Right to Buy, where the Thatcher government refused to build more council houses, and then it just cascaded into a situation where people can't afford to get on the property ladder at all.
Saving whatever I have, taking help from my family, and eventually if I can buy one property, and then if I have at the moment the property that I have under my name, for example, if my mortgage is £1,200, I'm getting £1,500 as the rent. So it feels like, I'm making £300, but with the service charge and everything, literally not making a single payment.
What do you think the government...
But you're paying a mortgage for a property. You're not paying a mortgage in order to... Does this guy... okay. I don't think he understands exactly what he's trying to... I don't think he understands his excuse very well.
What do you think the government could do to help with the housing crisis?
Well, stop the boats. Sorry.
So how would stopping the boats stop the housing crisis. The housing crisis has been around since before the boats arrived. Okay, it's been around for many years. So stopping the boats is not the issue. Especially as I said before, stopping the boats is not going to stop the guy who has 45 properties.
Sorry, I don't have any politically incorrect ways of saying it, but I just think at the moment I don't think Labour's very good for us. I vote Conservative. I would like reform to get in.
Okay, so it sort of undermines her position that she's, I care about my tenants, and if they ever have a problem, I'm going to sort it out straight away because I'm a humanitarian. But I'm going to vote for reform because reform said they're going to stop the boats. Yeah, I'm not really convinced of that woman.
Seems to be plenty of demand, but it's where that demand's coming from is the problem.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you can be careful what you say, but because of the influence of, people coming across in boats and this sort of thing.
These people are obsessed with boats. Is this the guy with 45 properties? He's worried about people coming over on boats. He should see that as a massive win. Here are loads of properties I can rent out to the government. I can make a huge amount of money. And he's probably one of these people who would do it, but when there's a camera in front of him and a microphone stuck in his face, he said, no, we need to stop the boats. Okay, but the boats is extremely lucrative for certain landlords, and he knows that. And either he wasn't able to take advantage of it, or he did, but he doesn't want to mention it here.
Even more stress on the housing market and problems that we shouldn't have.
How do you think we fix the housing crisis?
I don't have the right answer for that, but I think in terms of to fix it, I would say a little bit more support for the landlord, I would say, especially.
Okay, the way to fix this problem is to give more money to landlords. Okay, look, the way to fix the housing crisis is twofold. It's reform of the rental market. You can't have a situation where somebody has 45 properties. Okay, that needs to go. But also you need to build affordable housing. They need to build affordable, and when I talk about affordable housing, I'm not talking about this, logo or sort of slogan affordable housing. I'm talking about real affordable housing, housing that people can buy themselves or access on normal wages. People don't have to be multimillionaires in order to buy properties. A property cap, a rental cap. There are a number of different ways of dealing with this. But there needs to be reform of the market as well, because there are too many landlords who are involved who are not interested in looking after their tenants, who are just seeing a way of making a quick buck. And a situation where you have somebody with 45 properties, that's messed up. That should not be allowed to happen, because this person is hoarding property. Property is supposed to be available for all. People should be able to access it. But of course, people will be told, no, the guy with 45 properties is not the problem. It's the people crossing in small boats. Anyway, guys, let's move on, because a few more stories to cover. I wanted to show you before we finished. Let me check the time. Yes. I wanted to show you this interesting video, a positive video from the Green Party. The deputy leader of the Green Party, actually, and he posted this video a few days ago on his social media, and I think it's really positive, and I actually mean that.
So I was in London the other day, and this bloke, he comes right up to me. He says, "Why don't you F off back to where you came from?" And you know what? I thought, I will. So I came back here to Sheffield. So I've got some brilliant memories of this place. Nid Road, the street I grew up on. Our little gang would be running around everywhere making noise, and someone's mum would always be telling us off to keep it down, because half the street was asleep after working nights at the foundry. Everyone worked there, my dad too, who was a crane driver. Now for a Bengali man back then, to become a crane driver, that was something. And you could see him from here, shifting massive rolls of steel across the Sheffield sky. My mum used to make the same walk every day, carrying his dinner in a tiffin tin, and he worked just here. And he'd be sitting here on a crate. Bengalis, Pakistanis, Jamaicans, white guys, all together, laughing, joking, telling stories. And yeah, there was racism back then, but there was something else. So my dad had this old tin, And it had all these bits and bobs in it. You know, postcards, pictures, banners. And it had this one picture of a trade union banner. And it had this black man and a white man. And they were all lifting this heavy chain together. And it had some words underneath. But I didn't really know what it meant back then. But for some reason, I'm thinking about that today. And suddenly it was all gone. Dad got too ill to work. And this place shut down shortly after. But it wasn't just us going down. You feel the whole community going to a slump. Men with nothing to do. Mums crying over bills. Everywhere you looked, someone was being left behind. Mill towns, pit towns, steel towns, even the dockers in London. Back then, some said Mrs. Thatcher wanted to teach us a lesson. Now, I don't know what that lesson was, but what I do know is once it started, we never really got over it. But now we're back. We're back there again. Everyone's angry and they're looking for someone to blame. That man in London, when he saw me, all he saw was my beard, my dopey, my brown skin. Like it was me to blame. All he saw was our differences. So I get why we had to come back here. To remember what we'd lost. It wasn't just the work or the factories. It was something else. And it's that picture in my dad's scrapbook. Because back then, when someone like me and that guy in London, when we saw each other, yes, we saw our differences, but we also saw something else. We saw those chains. Chains of hardship and debt. And we knew that the only way we'd ever lift them was together, side by side. How is it that in a country of almost 70 million people, that there's so many of us that feel so isolated, divided and powerless? It's time to see past those differences and remember what connects us. Because that's where our strength lies, in each other. And when we realise that, that's when change happens.
Brilliant. So whoever's doing these videos for the Green Party, kudos, because the quality is amazing. The how they're made is wonderful. I'll get to David's comment in just a moment, but I think this is really important. It's a message of hope. You know, if you juxtapose it, if you contrast it with what Nigel Farage and Reform are putting out, it's always hate, hate, hate. These people coming to take your job, these people coming to take your livelihood, to take your home, all of these things. The country's been flooded by immigrants, all of this. And if you look at it from the Green Party, it's something positive. He has received a lot of criticism because he's a Muslim, of course, which is disappointing, as opposed to looking at the message. People are just looking at him. Is that Green Party video? It is, yeah, Oliver. David says big landlords like Mears love the boats. Big office contracts as well. Big home office contracts, yes. And that's what I was that's what I'm thinking is, like, for some people, the boats is a wonderful economic opportunity, because you can fill your properties with a lot of people who have no rights, no way of complaining. The Home Office gives you a contract, you stick them in. You don't have to care about the quality of the housing or anything. It just has to meet a minimum standard. The tenants will never complain. They can't complain, and then they'll be moved out and new ones brought in. It's very lucrative. All you have to do is just refurbish it at the end of the contract, and you can start again. Franco Punny, thanks so much for that super chat. Anyone see the video of Melania Trump walking with a robot in the White House? The robot had more personality, humanity, intelligence. Yes, it was wonderful. Yes, it delivered a few lines as well, which were a bit more interesting than whatever Melania Trump had to say. Some people were talking about how this is the future now. We're going to see robots all over the place. So I think we will see robots a lot more. Whether that's a good thing or not is another thing. So we're almost at the end of the live stream tonight, guys. So I want to say thank you to everyone who came on tonight. Thank you so much to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated, as always. Have a very safe weekend. I really hope that this war in Iran does not explode even more. Just I'm always worried about the weekends because of what's going on with Donald Trump. He tends to start tweeting rubbish at 3 a.m. Corbyn has turned into an old fool. Which Corbyn? Him or his brother? We haven't heard much from Jeremy Corbyn. I think your party has sort of gone by the wayside. Anyway, guys, before we finish, I want to share this video. This is a video that are one for the road. This is a funny video from 2007. You can see there. A skit from 2007 was 2 decades ahead of its time. So let me just load it up here. Hopefully the volume isn't too high.
The Iraq.
It's very high. Let me bring it down a bit. Apologies. The Iraq.
The Iraq.
Looks unstable.
Trust me, the intelligence briefings I got on the Iraq are completely credible.
The Iraq looks like something we shouldn't be involved with. It looks like you put it together with no directions.
I'm confident the Iraq will work without any directions or plans of any sort.
But the Iraq looks all shaky. I mean, you are going to fix it, right?
Wrong. This is the Iraq as we intended. Mission accomplished. Now I'm going to put our eye products into the Iraq.
Oh, the Iraq's on fire!
Oh my God, the fire from the Iraq is engulfing the entire building!
Everybody out!
Oh my God! Where's the exit? How do we get out of here?
You can't get out of here! There is no exit strategy. I want you all to stop focusing on the Iraq and start focusing on our newest product. The Iran!
Oh my goodness, 2 on the nose, that one. So we have a super chat before we finish from Glasgow Gal. Thank you so much for that. My mother used to say, it shouldn't matter the colour of one's skin. We all have red blood underneath. Well said to her. Yeah, we're all the same on the inside. Thanks for that and wise words. And Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat as well. Division by Reform UK reminds me of Paisley in Northern Ireland. Yes, never. That's all they have left. Division. No message of hope for the future. And it's always looking towards the past as well. So guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe as always. I'll see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. Stay safe as always. Take care and good night.